Hey guys and gals and YouTubers, this is your host Raven2012 welcoming you back to another Kerbal Space Program. And this is the Kerbal Space Program install that I have of the mods. So this is going to be the modded edition. This is the edition we're going to be using for our Let's Play. And this is basically where the game takes on another dimension is in the mods. And early on in the history of this game, mods were very essential to get some of the add more game features to the game. But 1.0, I'm using a lot less mods now, so which is a nice thing. A lot of the good stuff is being incorporated in the games, and basically the mods that I'm using now are just to enhance the game, the stock game, to make it a little bit better than it was before. Which is up to you if you guys want to play stock or not. Stock's really nice now in 1.0. I'm sure it's going to be getting better. But personally, I've been using mods since early version of the game came out, and my first one was MechJeb. There's a lot of debate with MechJeb, and I'll get into that later once we get into the mods. So we'll fire up the game. There's different types of mods. There's part mods, there's visual mods, there's enhancement mods, there's all kinds of different mods that I'll add to the game. We'll jump into our sandbox here. Apologize, guys. Alright, I had to mute that, clear my throat a little bit. Gets a little dry. I will jump in the VAB. And we'll get to check out some of the mods. The best way to show them off is to start in the VAB. And the first one we're going to look at is the Kerbal Engineer Redux. This is a very old mod. It's been around forever. And it basically gives you information about the rocket you're creating. Gives you the different stages of how much thrust weight ratio there is on each one. And it gives you a delta V on the object, which is really nice. I thought they were actually going to add something like this with the stock game, but I think they probably will. I don't think they had time in this release, so that might be coming up in another release. But this one's got a lot. This Kerbal Engineer one's got a lot of stuff in it now. Gives you a lot of information. You can also expand it, do different things, different thrust ratios on different bodies in the solar system. So I think that is, and then let's see what's another mod that I added in here. Got this other one, it's called Real Shoots. This is a really awesome mod. I'm glad the modder has came back, and his name's Stupid Chris. I'm glad he actually came back. He took a break from the mod for a while. He was having a lot of problems with the some of the guys in the community and gave him a hard time, so he needed to take a break. I'm glad he's back. This is a really awesome mod. It changes the parachutes in stock stuff, and then it adds his own little parachutes too. You can add to the game, but they're a little bit more realistic. The way they deploy and whatnot, they're really nice. I recommend this mod to anybody. Should already change all the stock stuff already, I think. Yeah. As far, I don't really have a lot of part mods. I have Kerbal Engineer, or not Kerbal Engineer. I have MechJeb, the first mod that I told you about that I had long time ago. This basically adds flight computer to your rocket, and I'll show you on the launch pad the features it adds. And I got it'll add a computer pod, and then it'll add in these little things you can attach to there. It'll actually add control to the pod, and I actually tweaked the AR 202 case and made it a smaller one for the Pro versions. So you can see it's a little bit smaller. You can't really tell, but I reduced the size because I want to use, if I needed to use MechJeb on satellites, I need something smaller. So we'll we'll launch this and I'll show you everything. There's a lot more you can see. Most of it's in the actual world itself. And I'll show you MechJeb. There's a lot of debate with MechJeb. Some people say, oh, it's a cheat, or why should we use that? You know, I'd rather use the controls myself. I'd rather land it myself or do this and that and launch it and control it myself while I'm flying. But guys, honestly, the space programs, they use computers to control the launch, most of the landings, all the maneuvers. So basically, astronauts were in there just to push a lot of the buttons. Later on during the Mercury missions, a lot of the astronauts fought against that because they felt like they were just a monkey pushing buttons. So they had a lot of the scientists to have a backup system, to have joystick in there to control the ship itself, the capsules. So they didn't feel like they were just useless in there. But honestly, big thing with the space program was computers. Computers was a big thing in the space program, and they if it wasn't for the computers, I don't think we would have made it to the moon, because there are so many micro calculations that a computer needs to do that a human probably won't without the assistance of a computer. So that's the debate with it, and that's the way I think about that. And let's bring up the old MechJeb, and I'll show you this stuff here. Basically, there is a lot of stuff in here with MechJeb. It's basically your computer on your spacecraft. Most of this stuff I blacklist because I've been using it so long that a lot of these features I really don't want to use. Basically, what I wanted it to use for is the Sentient Guidance Smartass, which is basically the same thing as this right here, but a little bit better. I really don't use the landing guidance. I think I don't have that blacklisted anymore, but you can use it. It makes landing really easy if you want to use it. Yeah, I don't know if I have that blacklisted. I basically have a file that it created and it uses module manager, and I can blacklist, get rid of all these to use. I don't use rendezvous and stuff like that. I like to do some stuff manual. But my big thing is, like I said, the Ascension Guidance. I really like to use this feature. It's because I'm really, I want to create a perfect orbit when I launch. And I try to want to create the best launch I can with the best fuel efficiency I can. So that's why I use this. So, you gotta set this up. You might not have it like this. I basically get into a 75 kilometer orbit, prevent overheats, limit throttle, I auto stage it, corrective steering, edit ascension path. I'll show you. I set this to 70% turn angle, and I adjusted this to make it a little bit steeper. And then you just basically engage the pilot, and then you just hit space to launch it. But I actually forgot to fix the staging. It has problems with this. Not a big deal. It all depends on you guys. I mean, if you think it's cheaty, that's fine. Just, you know, do it the way you want to use it. I've used it, but I don't use all the features. Like I said, I blacklist it. Just want to use what I want to use. You can get handicapped. I mean, I've been playing this game so long. I mean, for newcomers, I can understand, but I've been playing this game for so long that I know how to use the features manually. I would learn that first before going into MechJeb, just in case if there's a computer failure and you gotta do all this stuff by hand. If you pretty much relied on MechJeb the whole time and you don't know how to do this stuff manually, it's going to affect you really bad. But basically, I've been playing this game so long that I know how to do all this stuff manually, that I'm almost like a pilot in there. Just in case if this computer does fail, I can override that and be able to come back on Earth and do the maneuvers I need to. So you still need to learn those basic concepts, because they do come in handy. There's times where there's a landing, if I'm going to use the landing guidance with MechJeb, that sometimes, like with Neil Armstrong, they were using the computer to land in Apollo 11, and the computer calculated all that, but the landing zone they were coming in on was a lot of boulders around. So basically, he had to override and take control over it. So there's situations where the computer can't compensate that, so you're gonna have to override it. Every landing's different. There's sometimes you can't really tell until you get really close to the surface. So I can set the landing maneuver to land at spot XYZ, and when I get there close, there's going to be boulders or a slope, and I'll have to take over manually. So you gotta always know how to do that manually. So that's the way I see about that. I mean, there's a lot of people that can argue about that. I don't want to really get into MechJeb arguments like a religious and yeah, it basically gets into like a religious and debate. Who's right or wrong, basically. It's one of those things I don't want to touch, but that's basically my philosophy on it. Alright, then we got the Blizzy toolbar, which basically frees up some of this stuff here and puts everything in this movable and hideable toolbar. You can add more around here and whatnot. And then I got all these different other mods in here. I got Chatterer, which if you heard there, the actual Kerbal will talk and they'll sound like they're in the capsule or mission control talking back to each other. And then it'll also add an atmospheric sounds, like certain background sounds. I turn those off. Breathe volume, airlock volumes, whatnot. Kerbal alarm clock. This is kind of like the warp system that's now in the game. I kind of use this because I think there's a setting there I can actually get real time and whatnot. It's got a lot of nice features. All this stuff is MechJeb. I pop MechJeb stuff in here. Ship manifest. This is a simple way to transfer crew from pod to pod if you're like in a space station. Transfer resources like electric charge, fuel from say if I'm going to go up to a space station, need to refuel it, you can do it that way. It's a little bit simpler. You can still do that in stock game. You just gotta like shift click, I believe. You can bring up multiple ones, or is it control click? No, that's not it. I used to know how to do this. It's been ages. There is a way to do multiple parts here. I just don't remember it. I might have to learn my key bindings again. There is a way. I know there's a way. There it is. Alt right click. So yeah, you can transfer that way. It's in the game, so if you don't want to use ship manifest, you already have it. Some of these mods you don't really have to use. I mean, I use them because I've been using them so long. Action Group Manager. Basically, when you're in the I haven't showed you guys that yet. Let's back out and I'll show you that. Action Group is basically you can set your keyboard bindings to do certain things. And the stock game, I believe it goes from, this is 1 through 0 on your keyboard pad. There's going to be some of these extra ones. I know abort is backspace. brakes is B and whatnot. So you can set certain things, so like you can have these guys to be G for gear and whatnot, it'll open up. Or if you have a launch escape system, you can set that to be abort and whatnot. There's different things you can do with that. Oops, I backed out too far. Let's jump on back in there. And Blizzy's toolbar can be in most of the scenes. I have it here so I can bring up Mech Jeb. And that action group manager mod I have, there's sometimes you're in rush to launch, or there's action group manager you forgot to keybind, and there's basically no way to do that, and you're on the moon somewhere and you're like, oh, I wish I had G key to do this or that, or number 2 to do the solar panels, and I don't have to click them manually. Action group manager, you basically can do it on the fly wherever you're at, and basically you just go through here, find the parts you want to do, and keybind them to whatever you want. So it's like action group manager on the fly. This hasn't been really updated in a long time, and hopefully it still works. I don't think the mod author is around anymore, so we'll see how it works in 1.1. Ambient light adjustment. This is basic for any YouTubers or streamers that are, you know, if we're doing videos and, you know, your space isn't really dark and I want you guys to see it, I'll adjust that. So that's what that is. Haystack is basically kind of like when you're at the tracking station and there's different one of these to clear up the screen, or basically if there's a lot of stuff around and you want in the solar system you want to jump to, you can actually jump through them to here, because there's sometimes you get a lot of stuff in space, debris and whatnot, so you want to like cycle through them. Targetron, that's basically a targeting system. You can target certain things out in space. Makes it a little bit better, because normally you have to right click it, tab over, right click on it, whatnot. There's Kerbal Engineer. He gives you information up here now, which is really nice. So if I'm flying, I can know my Apple and periapsis, and you can basically add some bars over here to terrain information. And this is a new one I'm trying out. It's Rover Dudes, pretty much a life support system. They use supplies. Basically, your orange guys are the ones that are hardcore, so even if their supplies run out, they still function. The gray guys, if this gets in the red, because normally they start out with 15 days of food and whatnot, and once that 15 days runs out, they go in the red. And basically, if you have your basic guys all in here, like all the gray guys, they don't die, they just basically won't work anymore. They just get grouchy. So basically you got to send up one of these orange guys out on the mission with a supply vessel, because they're supply parts, and resupply them so they can eat and get out of their grouchy mode, because when they get down to the red, they're pretty much useless. You can't move them out of the seat. They just stay in the seat all the time, and they can't control the vessel or anything. And so basically they're kind of like a tourist, a space tourist. They're just there. They can't do anything to the vessel. So you gotta supply them with food and whatnot. And then your alternative resource panel, which is alternative to the stock one right here. It gives you more information, how much is left. So it's a pretty nice panel. I've been using that one for years. So let's launch this beast. Let's move this stage down here. We'll show you ascension guidance, engage, space. So it does a roll turn, which is really nice, which is realistic. Usually in real life they roll and pitch. My pitch is, I believe I have it set at, I have it set at 15 kilometers, which is pretty high. I should do it lower, but I don't have a problem with this one. So basically it's hands-free. It's going to do all the maneuvers I need to get into launch, and basically that's what they do in real life. The computer takes over. It'll put me into an orbit, and once the orbit gets there, it'll turn off the ascension guidance. And then smartass will pop up here. I put smartass over here. It's actually put this a little bit better here. It's smartass. Oh, I think my game crashed. Alrighty guys, I'm back. Something crashed in the game. It just kind of froze. I don't know if it's the I think it might have been something to do with MechJeb. I did download. I was using a dev version, and I'm using a later dev version. They just came out today, so we'll see if that works. It may be conflicting with one of these older ones. I'm possibly thinking either Action Group Manager, because that hasn't been recompiled for 1.0 yet. Maybe problem. Might have to get rid of that for a while until it gets updated. So we'll see how this goes, because I tested MechJeb out in before, but I don't think I had Action Group Manager or Targetron. So hopefully it'll work here again. So let's launch her up again. I was messing with Kerbal engine there while I was doing the smartass stuff, so we'll just leave it alone. We'll wait till we get in orbit and see if it does it again. With MechJeb, he does come out with an official release, but then he also does dev versions. I recommend getting dev version, but like I said, sometimes it could be messed up. It's always a thing with dev versions. But he likes to do their fixes on them. He usually likes to do large fixes before he officially releases them. But if you guys do have problems when you download MechJeb, see if there's a dev version, because usually a dev version will fix a lot of the problems. Let's see if this does this. I think it started when I hit the gravity turn. A little bit after. Should start to do the turn here. Seems to be okay. Sometimes you'll see this go into yellow. It's just the physics engine kicking in a little bit. There's a lot to calculate in the launches and re-entries. There's a lot going on. The calculations. Seems to be okay. And then it'll automatically time warp to the rotational burn. Let's jump in the... okay, what are these icons? Let's little buggy? What is that? I don't know what that is. It might actually be something to do with MechJeb. Time warping. We'll see when we get out there. I never seen this. I never looked at the map when MechJeb was working. It must be a new feature. I really don't know. I gotta move this out of here too. Let's move this temporarily over here somewhere. Should be right about there, and this will get a perfect orbit, usually more rounded than I can get. And MechJeb is really necessary if you're using well, you don't have to use it, but for remote tech. And then this is just like using the T key here to hit the prograde. This one works a little bit better. It'll bounce her right back on there. So let's see if I can bring up Kerbal Engineer control bar. There we go. Seems to be working okay now. I don't know what this is. Don't know what that is. I didn't see that before. I wonder if that's something to do with Kerbal alarm clock. It might delete alarm on close. I don't know. It's on center. I believe that's part of alarm clock. That might be something new. This is all new to me. Probably will. Don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that is. I'll have to jump in and see, pull out a couple of the mods and see what that is. I don't know if that's stock game really. I feel like one of these mods added it. Oops, I think I took something out. Configure visible buttons. Oh, thanks. I think I took it out. I think it'll reset once I go back to a different screen. Oh, there might be a bug with this. There might be a bug. It's not coming up here. Let's stage recovery. Oh, okay. Let's go to Space Center. This is why I tested a little bit of these out, so when I do my career mode, it won't be a surprise of what shows up there. There's alarm clock. Let's go into settings because I think I changed some visibilities because I toggled it, so I think it should be okay now. Once I go in here, it should be back. Usually if you have problems like that, jump out of a scene. Usually some of these things need to reset. Let's jump in there, fly in the sea. That's weird. I want to see that. It should be in there again. Yep, there we go. Jump the map, it should be up there. Yep. I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna pull out can't pull out mech jets, this is attached. I'll try to pull out alarm clock and see if that added anything to this. I'm a little curious about that. So I'll be right back, guys. Alright guys and gals, so it is a Kerbal alarm clock. That's a pretty neat feature they added on there to actually time warp to the periapsis and Apoas AP or Peri. So many names you can call those. That's a pretty nice feature actually. So yeah, that's what alarm clock adds. I was wondering if they're going to add something in new with that. So yeah, I'll pop out again and pop it back in. Be right back, guys. So here we are again. Threw back in the alarm clock. Pretty nice little feature there. Alarm clock, I think you can, it's going to get dark here a little bit. We're going on the dark side of the planet. You can also add in with the alarm clock and make sure it runs prograde. It's probably eating battery power a little bit. I think you can actually go in here and add real time so you can actually see what time is it in the real world. I believe. If I can figure this out. Time format, KSP time, normal time. That is not my normal time. I don't think that's it. You guys are probably going to be yelling at me. You can access the web and check the version. I know there is a way to change the time somehow. I just don't remember. It's been ages since I used these guys here. There's a lot of stuff in here now. Well, it's one of those mods I like to keep in there, just in case any situation arises. That's most of these interfaces are. Let's turn up this light so you can see a little bit better at night. And like I said, you can go into escape. You can change a lot of these settings in here now, which is really nice. Lit is, if I right click that, it takes me back to this normal one. Let's actually go to Space Center. I can't revert flight now because I exited the game, came back in. So I have to bring them back the old school way. Yeah, while I was putting back Kerbal alarm clock, I actually went on the forums really quick to see if there's any any of the mods updated, or if there's any new stuff. I saw some new stuff. There's stock like space station parts. I've used these in the past, and they're really nice parts to add into the game. Because the game right now, I think there's only a few parts to use to do space stations, and these actually add a lot more functionalities to make a little bit better space station. Usually I don't like to use a lot of the modded pack parts like Nova Punch, FASA, and KW Rocketry and B9. It's just too many parts, and usually they recommend, I don't know if there is a 64-bit KSP anymore. I think there's only 32. Yeah, I think they're only using 32-bit now. Well, looking at the official, they only use these like 4 gig memory. So if you go beyond that, like adding in too many parts, your game will get a lot of crashes. So I usually keep the part count low. I like to keep it. I like to use anything that's stock alike, because I really like to use a lot of the stock parts. And there's a lot of parts now here in the game that you can build whatever you need. Usually sometimes with KW Rocketry I'll pull out the batteries and use those, because the batteries in there are really nice, the radio batteries. I am using something from FASFA, and that's actually, I can actually demonstrate that for you here in a little bit. Here is, I'm using their Escape Pod or Escape LES system, and basically I'm using this because there is really none right now in the stock game that is for the small capsules. The only one they have right now is for the bigger stuff, so I wanted something for the smaller guys, and I tweaked the size a little bit because where are we at? I can't. I'm all over the place. Because the size doesn't fit correctly on there. And I'll load it up. Don't save. We'll load. I got the large. So I should have a small LES test. Here we go. Basically, with the one from FASFA, these little it won't fit right on here that well. The bottom part sticks out a little bit. I resized them tiny bit so they fit a little bit better. Tweak the, I believe, the fuel amount and the thruster amount to be a little bit more for the stock stuff. But yeah, this is what the launch escape system looks like. It's an experiment. In my old versions of the game, I actually had a bigger version of these to be on the bigger pods, but since stock game added their own in, I'm going to be using theirs. They're not the best, I mean, but they work, and I'll show you how these guys work. I already have them binded to the action groups. Let's just make sure. Yep. And then I'll launch it, and we'll see how this works. Basically, this will help save your Kerbals in an emergency, and I like them to function well on the launch pad, because most of the time that's where you're going to have problems, is on the launch pad or the beginning of the launch, and you need to abort. So if it functions on the launch pad, it functions right. So I'll hit backspace, it'll shoot it out. I'll hit 0, that'll decouple this. And in 9 key, I have it on the action group to deploy the shoot. So here we go. Decouple that and hit the shoot. And since we're using real shoot, it has to the vertical velocity has to be basically 0 to deploy. And then it opens up and it functions, and it works very well to get us out of a dangerous situation. If you notice, the G's kind of barely went up to the red, and that's perfect. I've done a lot of experimentations with this LAS system, so I have the numbers perfectly right where I need them. So yeah, that works fine. And just in case of an emergency, we can bring Valentino back. And I'll show you the stock one. It doesn't quite work that well on the launch pad with let go. Oh, MechJeb's not in there. My bad. It comes up when MechJeb's in there. Large LAs. What was I saying about that? It works okay when it's launched. It doesn't work so well on the launch pad, and the reason why I'm raised it up, I'm trying to simulate the craft size, because usually you're not going to craft, if you're using a 3 command pod this smaller, it will be roughly about this large. So I'm trying to simulate that. I might actually have to delete this because I was doing some tweaks to it. And I'll show you how to put the action groups in. I did a tweak to this. Only one tweak. I was going to tweak the fuel amount and the thruster to try to fix it. It doesn't fix it. All I added with this is for it to decouple. I honestly wish they would add this to decouple, because the other one I would just showed you, the red one from Fastva, it decouples. And I don't understand why this does not decouple. They should decouple. Go to action groups, abort. I already have that. Basically, you're going to set, if you launch escape system, you're going to hit your coupler to decouple. You're going to want to shut down your main engine, and then you want to have this activate engine. And number 10 is going to be decouple, and number 9 is to deploy the chute. And then we can save this. Everything, I'm looking at the staging, that's right. So hopefully this will work a little bit better. It's not as good as the Fastful one, my Tweet Fastful one. It does work now. The stock one, it works okay. I think there's a better one out there somewhere. I have to find it. So yeah, let's hit it and see how she works. It's not going to be as good. I think it works better with out the real chutes, because the normal chutes will deploy right away. The real chutes, they take a little bit, so just keep that in mind. It's going to work a little bit better with the stock chutes. So by the time these open, and it's already going to hit the ground hard, so it gives a little drag and saves it a little bit, but not much. So in case of an emergency, it'll work on the launch pad, but I think it'll work better once we get up a little bit. So if we're right here and an emergency happens, boom, we can hit it, and it should work because we're getting a lot of velocity from the main rocket part on the bottom there. So this will definitely open up. Turn T off. So yeah, it works. There you go. But real shoots, it's not that effective. So I mean, I think you could probably make some adjustments to when this opens. But that's the way real shoots works. It doesn't open instantaneously. Stock equipment, it'll work. Stock parachutes. But it works, guys. I mean, I've always loved to use launch escape systems. They've been one of my features that I've always used, even before they even stock game put the launch escape system in there. I've always converted the Fastful one over and looked for modded ones and used them ever since then. Even heat shields, I used to have my own custom heat shields that came from an old pack way back when, and you can't find them anymore. I've been using those ever since before even daily reentry was around. But a couple of realisms. Those are a couple of realisms I like to use. I mean, I want to save my Kerbals, and in case of emergency, I'm going to use a launch escape system. I like that option. The other thing I changed with the fastful, I kind of changed a lot with it. I changed the size. Like I said, I changed the fuel. I also changed when you actually get it in the career mode, because the fastful ones you don't get it till later on, quite later on in the game. And launch escape systems honestly should be something you get kind of early in the game. And I changed the fastful one to actually, let's go into the test one, to get into the tech tree of survivability, which is a couple branches up or nodes up, which makes sense. Yeah, survivability is up here, so you don't necessarily get them right away, but you can get these unlocked eventually. I mean, these three nodes don't take long to unlock, but they're not in the beginning, so it kind of simulates progression, and it is part of survivability. You want to survive as part of the thing. I think Fastfa has it unlocked and specialized control, but see how far that is? You're going to be already wanting survival LES systems by then. The stock one actually comes out a little bit sooner. It comes out landing, which makes sense because I don't think you get the 3-man command pods until a little bit later on. Let me see. They changed all these. I forgot what tier they come out on. Yeah, so you're going to already have the which one is it? Yeah, you're already going to have, if you go along here, you're already going to have the LES system for it when you get the larger one. So, I mean, it's there. So, yeah, that's why I kind of moved it. I mean, you guys can probably use FASFA and just change the when you get it on the tech tree, just put in survivability. That's probably the only thing you can change. I mean, you can leave the size the way it is, and the fuel capacity for the LES system, and the thrust on it, it'll work just as well as the one I did. So if you guys want to use something like that, just get the one from FASFA pack, which is all like the Gemini Mercury stuff, and the one I'm using is from the Gemini LES system, so use that one. And like I said, just change the career unlock to survivability if you guys know how to use that. Let's go back, and I think I can show you a couple more things. I think I covered a lot of stuff. I think I'm actually not that long in the video because I've had that crash and then I paused a lot. I'm just trying to cover a lot of stuff for you guys. I mean, a lot of this stuff I'm gonna get into. I'm kind of not ready to get into making the Let's Play yet. I'm kind of still messing with around the mods, but I'm kind of eager to do the videos, so I want to do these videos for you. So like I said, I stick to stock-alike parts, anything that looks like stock. And usually those stock-alike parts aren't massive packs, they're just a small amount. Just like these guys, add a little functionality to the game. And then you can see my custom flag over there. Got all my flags. I've added a lot more flags to the game. It's just ones I accumulated over the years, and I have my custom flags here. I forgot how to actually turn think there's a way to turn this flag off. Yeah, toggle flag. There it is. I was wondering how to do that the other day. Any other parts? This is part of Kerbal Engineer. You don't really need these parts anymore. Back in the day, we needed to put these on certain parts to actually have the Kerbal Engineer work, but you don't need it now. It's kind of integrated. They're kind of cool if you want to have a rocket to have a little something more to it. You can add those on there. Circular solar panels. These are another line head panels I'm using. That needs to be updated. I'm probably going to get some more mods. Right now, they're not. Probably this weekend, I'll probably get few more. My mod count is actually quite down with the new 1.0 update. It used to be a lot more. Let's do the new one. We'll go to Launchpad. I might add in the raster prop monitors. That needs to be updated. They gotta redo some of the IVAs. I could do it. I used to do some of the IVAs for that mod, but I just don't have the time for it with my YouTube channel, and I'm getting busier now, and got a kid on the way. I'm not going to have as much time to actually do some of the IVAs in there. What the prop monitor as is like, if you ever seen fighter jets, they have those monitors and they have all the buttons and you can push things and it'll bring up like a map and different things. That's what that mod does. It's a really nice mod. It makes a player play in the first person more and play inside the capsule a lot more, because you can do a lot of stuff in there and a lot of buttons work in there. It's got a nice docking camera. You can turn that on and you can actually dock on certain space stations, which is nice. Oh, they must have redone these outfits here. Huh. Interesting. I didn't know they did that. Okay. Well, apparently the guys in here have the gray suits and orange suits, but when they go in the EVA, they don't have them. Interesting. All these buttons, this is stock stuff. This is when you're... Depends on what you're doing. Staging, if you're docking, you get different controls out of that. I think that's it. Ship manifest, I already talked about that. Roster, I can probably remove guys and bring them in that way. I don't know, we'll get into that later. I think that's about it for this. Talked a long time with the mods. Like I said, you guys, just skip these two videos. It's just me rambling until I get my mods sorted, and then we can jump into LP career mode and possibly do some LP sandbox mode, just us messing around. So we'll see how this goes, what kind of videos I'm going to do. Alright guys, I think that's about it. We'll see you next time. And like always, you guys have a great day, and enjoy, if you're playing Kerbal Space Program, enjoy your flights out there into space and beyond. Alright guys, have a great day. Bye bye.